Did you guys see the XF tool code execution POC?
Oh my God,
Holy
really?
crap. Oh yeah. Like Virus Total, like all these different places that do XF data using XF tool, and like you upload just a JPEG and you get callbacks, and it's fantastic.
Where the hell is this? Because I'm Googling XF code execution, because that's bad. Is that in one specific library? Remote code execution.
It's in the tool itself.
Oh no.
So,
we're live, by the way, everybody.
Okay.
Oh,
we got sidetracked by remote code execution.
It's fantastic. I have a little malware research lab thing that I have with Cuckoo, and it has XF tool in it. It runs through a bunch of checks, and so I uploaded a basic example for this, and it absolutely ran. So it was fantastic.
Oh my God. I love the example. PHP system, netcat, URIP, URI port, execute bin bash. It's like, oh
right?
My God. I didn't know it was in the... So are they going to patch this, or are they like, nah, it's a feature?
Yeah, it's patched in 12.24, okay. But like nobody's going to update this tool, right? Like,
well, it's just built so into deep. So many things.
Right.
Let's go ahead and start the show, and let's start on this one, because this is geeky. Let's kick it off, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of BHIS Talking About News. This is the news show where we try to talk about computer security and do our damn best to avoid talking about ransomware as much as we possibly can. This particular episode, I am joined by a cast of characters, some of which you have not seen before, but you will be seeing a lot more of them in the future. As always, we're joined by Ryan, who I'm still desperately waiting for him to screw up so I can give him a hard time. But we still wait. I'm also joined by Dale Hobbs, who I've known for a long time and finally joined BHIS in the last couple of weeks. Noah, you might know him as Monopixel on the Discord channel. He's one of the nerd herders that has been picked up by BHIS because he's been awesome in the community. Jeff Wright, who I can say without question is one of the most obsessive compulsive hackers I've ever met in my entire life. The dude does not let stuff go. He also joined Black Hills Information Security in the past couple of weeks. We have Rob, of course, whose cameras are not working because that's just the way
too many video calls today.
Too many video calls. It is. And we're also blaming it on micrometeorites, possibly interfering with the satellites as well. And as always, the co-host, Ralph, jumped in. So how's everybody doing?
Fabulous.
Good.
Amazing.
Monday. It's just another manic Monday. All right.
That's the song.
So Rob, you were talking about this new EXIF vulnerability that popped up. For those of you that don't know, EXIF allows you to read metadata inside of files and things like that, which is pretty cool. And we used it for years in Recon, where you could pull down files and you could see who wrote it, what was the software version. And you could do a ton of like recon by pulling down files. Well, it turns out there's actually a vulnerability in that specific tool. So, Rob, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So EXIF is literally the data inside of images, right? The extra interfacial information. And EXIF tool is a widely used tool as well. I think it's also a library that tons and tons of websites use. It's the de facto use case for getting EXIF data out of an image. And so there was an RCE posted, and I think that's actually the wrong link. That looks like it's 2020.
I think this one's from this is last year's.
Yeah. So
this is when I was getting. Oh, I see your link.
Movix has one. Movix has
the new
patch.
link.
Got that. There we go.
So that's the patch. And it was.
We're not.
We're screwed. There's no patch for it, everybody.
There's no patch. We're done.
404, patch on the pound.
We'll get there. So, all right, keep going, Rob.
Anyways, so The interesting thing about this is that because it's used everywhere and because XIF is a publicly available tool, all of the code is just directly there. So as you can see inside of the, it's probably too hard to read. Anyways, the patch changes and escapes certain types of characters inside of your XIF data. And the nice thing or the interesting thing about this is if I upload a image with breaking some of these escape characters, then I can execute code inside of the XIF tool. And I mean, this thing is used in VirusTotal, Imgur, like all of like tons of publicly available websites. And so this is a critical vulnerability for anyone using it. And one of the problems is that like many times you might not know that you're using it. Like Cuckoo, my version of Cuckoo has XIF tool in it that runs, and I tested this POC out that I'll see if I can get a link to it later. But the POC just pops calc inside of my virtual machine. I'm saying outside of my virtual machine, right? So it on the host itself where I'm running VirtualBox, it pops up calc because it's pulling out the images of what gets dropped by my malware and pulling out XIF data to load it. Like this thing is super, super awesome.
So, and I think that a lot of people kind of need a little bit more background on why this is so bad. This is actually a type of, believe it or not, this is kind of a supply chain attack. Whenever you talk about things like SolarWinds and how big it was into organizations and things like that. When we're starting to look at these open source tools, there's a ton of commercial tools that utilize these open source tools inside of their technology stack because it's easier just to pull an open source project, incorporate it in your tool, and then you have it built into your commercial tool. So when Rob said we won't see the end of this for a while, he's absolutely correct because this is embedded in so many things. And unfortunately, a lot of those things are security tools. So this is going to be right. This is going to be a gift that keeps giving for a while.
And there's many times that you won't even know that it's being used. If there's an icon or avatar that you can upload your image for, just like Image Magic or whatever it was called, Image Magic.
Magic, yeah.
The exploit, that's still out there. Like you can still find people using old versions of Image Magic and get one side note to this is if you are avid CTF player, be careful because XIF tool is one of the things that many, many, many CTF players use to find data inside of images.
And I would also go so far as if you're a lethal forensicator, as the SANS Institute likes to call people that do forensics. Blake has been pointing out in YouTube that there's a large number of tools from SleuthKit and Autopsy and all these different things that are reading in this metadata from these files. And a lot of those tools may be using the XIF toolkit for that as well. So the reason why that matters is because if you're doing forensics on something and it's part of a case and you get in front of a judge and a jury and the software version that you were using was out of date and say it had a vulnerability where someone could take over your forensics workstation, that could definitely impact your actual court case. So just double check and patch your stuff as much as you can.
That's a great thought too. Like, can you imagine just dropping this in one of your folders and like in case popping calc? Like your case is going to be, and how do you patch in case, right? My gosh, that just.
Well, but I think you and I have talked about this extensively. Like Ncase and FTK, they used to be relatively lightweight, small programs, and now it's like multiple gigs of files that you got to download. It's getting harder and harder to actually like patch and update those things. Blake also brought up, wonder if it can affect previously closed cases. From this particular post on our NetSec, it doesn't sound like it was something they found being exploited in the wild. It sounds like it was found by a security researcher. I don't think there's any indication yet that this has been used in the wild. Is that correct?
Yeah, not as far as I can see. It was reported, if I remember correctly, through HackerOne and finally on the tool itself. So, I don't think it was publicly out there, at least not that I know of, other than on NetSec.
Yeah, it's going to be public soon.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing...
if I was able to create a POC out of it, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is if you want to make it a really fun time for anyone who may be doing some sort of forensics on your cell phone at some point, you should download the Signal app with the landmined Cellubrite exploit and then put pictures with remote code execution to wipe any host computer
It's still early in the week,
into
though.
your thing, so that if anyone tries to do any forensics whatsoever, it's just going to nuke that system. That's what I'm hearing.
Wow. That got dark.
Yeah, right.
If you want to talk anti-forensics, oh man, what's his name? Crap. He does hardware. He's braids. Anyways, there was a gentleman who is an amazing. He does the Bible, the Ponda, or anyways, he gave a talk. Sorry.
What's this guy's name?
He did the POC or GTFO. He's the original author of that.
The Bible
curator.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, he gave a talk at I think SciScan back in 2010, and it was surrounding anti-forensics. And one of the most amazing anti-forensics that I actually got a chance to try out on myself was he created with his not JTagulator, with a piece of hardware that he creates where he rewrites the firmware on a SATA controller. And what it does is when you read all randomly, it works just fine, like normally. A hard drive, because a hard drive never reads in sequence, it reads randomly, it operates just fine. And what he did was if the controller sees sequential reads for more than X number of bytes, it would start outputting smiley faces for every single byte.
I love
and
it.
So the crazy thing is, like, his hard drive just works normally every day. But if you pull it out and put it in a forensics machine where it reads start to finish, it starts doing smiley faces after like the first meg. So all you get as a forensics. And the thing is, like, the SATA controller is not something you can easily replace because it's attached to the drive itself, and it knows all of the turns and everything. So if you talk to anyone in forensics, to be able to replace the controller that's on the drive, the little piece of PVC or whatever it is, like the. Anyways, I'm having troubles with words today.
That's okay. I think
We still get the idea.
Yeah.
that whole idea of whenever you start seeing reads at a certain point, basically printing garbage. I don't know if anybody remembers, Jamie Butler released a tool, Black Hat, over a decade ago called Shadow Walker. And the way Shadow Walker worked is you would install it into a system, and as soon as it saw sequential memory reads coming across the system, sequential memory reads coming off of memory, it would page the malware out of active memory, drop it to the disk, and then basically have it marked to be read back in at a certain time frame. So you could literally just have your malware basically step out of memory and then come back in after the memory read came out. So, like those types of anti-forensics techniques are always like really scary, but the thing that sucks about them is you keep on having people say, but this has never been witnessed in the wild. How many forensics engineers would actually be able to deal with something, right? Like your SATA drive doing that, or, I mean, smiley faces would be pretty obvious, but like that memory read, pulling it out. It's like at the end of all these presentations, like, no, we've never seen this in the wild. I'm like, that's probably because it's freaking hard to detect, much more so than it just not being used. But who knows?
So what he said, what I talked to a couple of forensics guys about this attack, right? And what they said is, unless I know it's there, unless I am ready for it, like, there's no way I can get around it, because what it's doing is it's outputting smiley faces and writing to the disk smiley faces. So it's zeroing out the disk as you're reading it in. So, like, you have to be ready for that type of attack before, like, and it's too much work too, right?
Absolutely.
And I think his talk actually pushed Incase and other large forensic toolkits to stop reading start to finish. They started jumping around more, I think.
Changing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I wonder how many sites are using XF Tool in the background to process images, right? To do
You mean
that.
web?
Yeah,
Oh, you mean
websites.
but also websites, but web scrapers too.
Yeah,
Think
yeah.
about that. So
I just wonder how many are in the background running this as like some kind of process to clean up the data on these images or to extract it. I mean, like, it could be mind blowing. I mean, there's Facebook. I don't know.
I would say almost anything that is reading and processing metadata. I mean, this is like the main framework that's used across the industry. It's kind of like SSL for metadata extraction, right? I mean, there were tools like MetaGoofill and things like that, but this is the tool that you see used all the time.
When you submit a photo now, most of the bigger sites, they'll strip the metadata from the images because people were going around and getting the original image and then looking at the metadata and be like, oh, look, now I know where you live, right? So yeah. I wonder if, there's not a bunch of sites that are already vulnerable to this because of the version. I mean, I don't know. If you're Facebook, hopefully you've decided to upgrade quickly, but that's what you're using.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or running it in a virtual machine or some like really kind of isolated Docker process.
But Rob just said, I'm going to have to look at this. Rob, let me clarify. I want to repeat back what you told me, because you said that you ran this in a virtual machine in VirtualBox and it popped a calculator on your host.
Right.
Is that, did I hear that right?
What was happening, just to make sure, I have a custom version of Cuckoo. What it does is it sees all of the files that get written to disk, right?
Oh, no.
And if it is an image, it pulls out the EXIF data, it's written EXIF tool on my host instead of in the image.
No. So
it's a feature.
But that setup, Rob, that setup is actually very similar to what a lot of vendors are doing. Like if you look at what FireEye is doing, they're using a modified version of QEMU to actually do virtualization for processing things. And they do something very similar where they run it inside of the virtual machine and then they pull the files out to do additional analysis as they
exactly, because it's this quote unquote safer route, right? It is, because if I was running inside where the malware is running, the malware can modify what I'm looking at, right? Or the tools
so you
that
pull
I'm
it out,
at, right?
Yeah,
so you pull it out and then analyze it, right?
Okay.
This is going to be one of those anti-buster moments. We're going to need a VM for the VM, like 3 layers deep here.
Until they figure that one out, then you need
this
4.
This one's going to get. I think this one's going to get shoved under the rug. I think this is one of those things where, like, you sit around and you talk about it. This is like at cons. If we were all together, we'd be talking about this, going, "Oh my God, this is horrible! This is horrible!" Everyone would take a couple of drinks and be like, "Well, that's going to suck." And then we just move on and we don't think about it for years until it actually hits something like a FireEye or a very large forensics vendor. And like, well, they were actually warned about this vulnerability like a half a decade ago. Because that's how I see this one going. It's like, this is scary, but as Rob mentioned, a lot of people don't even know that they're running it. A lot of vendors don't even know that they're running it. A developer threw it in and no one's really watching this crap. So all right, let's keep going. So
it was free, open source. It works great.
It was
I mean,
I got it from GitHub, so I can run it for free, right? So
yeah. I mean, all code on GitHub is security checked. It's good.
Multiple times.
See the code.
It does. Yeah.
If
you know that they have any natural or they have any image processing or file processing, because it's not just images, right? Yeah, you could definitely try to launch this as an attack. Imagine a metadata sandbox detonation. Yeah, that's kind of where we're heading, right? Because, oh my God. All right, let's keep moving. Do we want to talk about, Ryan, can we bring up the deep fake thing?
Yeah, let me find that one.
This sounds AI-ish.
It is AI-ish. This scares me, and this is something that we talked about in one of the earlier shows, and I talked about it on Enterprise Security Weekly and things like that. But the whole idea is, and you have email compromise, business email compromise, where somebody spoofs an email from an executive saying, I need you to transfer money right away. And that's hitting companies right now. But imagine if you got a video call, right? Like you got a Teams video call, or you got a Skype video call, or, GoToWebinar or Zoom or whatever. And on the other side is like your boss's boss's boss demanding you to do something right now. And it's all a deep fake video. And apparently this is one of those things where, we talk about threat intelligence feeds, where a bunch of these different ransomware and different organized crime syndicates are actively talking about what tools are better for doing these types of things on the fly. So this is, talking about what they call it, synthetic identity fraud. Oh dear God, how the hell, what? So Ryan, you're an expert on this. You want to talk a little bit about how you can tell that, something's been messed up because of the pixels?
Well, I know from Photoshop files that there are ways to look at. I should probably make myself bigger because I can. And there are ways to look at a photo, and even though you may not be able to tell by your eye that it's been altered by Photoshop or some other software, there is a way to figure it out because, of course, nothing with computers are completely random. It's synthetic random, so there's always some sort of a pattern in the way the bits are making up that image. So in theory, you could figure out, in my theory anyway, I haven't really seen anything like this across the web, but you'd have to have something like that analyzes the video to be able to tell, is this synthetic or is this a real face?
So it's almost like you'd need to have a plugin that could go into Zoom or Teams or something that could give you a warning and be like, this is currently,
It's like when you get an email and you have to scan the attachment file first before you can look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever we're how do we deal with this in security? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask: are these pre-recorded videos that they play for, or are they interactive in the sense you can actually have a conversation with one of these?
So there's two types, right? So you actually see deepfakes right now. And you see it all the time where they put like Nicolas Cage's face on Yoda, and it looks really good. And we're seeing that as far as videos and things like that. But a lot of that technology is basically like last year's or the year before's technology for a lot of the videos that you see that are demonstrating that type of capability. If you look at some of the newer technology that's been showing up, stuff that's running with like a supercomputer cluster and lots and lots and lots of GPUs, I've seen examples where people can take pictures from like the 30s and then they can basically make that picture animated, and then someone can talk and interact and it changes the picture more or less real time. There may be a slight bit of hesitancy, but it's basically getting to the point where this is no longer just processing, but actually getting to the point where it's processing close to real time.
There is an open source project, I just posted it there in the chat, to do just this, right? For Zoom bombing, and it will do it in real time. So supposedly, it will take that face and you can have a live conversation and, pretend to be that person. Now, I don't know how great it is. I haven't set it up. I just know that, the code's out there. This is just kind of the start, right? And this has been out for a little bit, so.
Yeah. And the example that they have is just like Mona Lisa, where somebody is basically having their face ran by Mona Lisa. There it is, which is just crazy. The other thing that's been really interesting, give you an idea how quickly this technology is progressing, is large commercial studios. Like if you look at Warner Brothers, they actually went through and had to use deepfake technology to remove, what's the guy's
Superman
name that plays
thing?
Superman?
Yeah.
Yep, they had to, I can't remember his name, but they had to remove his mustache because he was in a Mission Impossible movie where he had a mustache, and it cost them millions of dollars to do, and it didn't look real good.
They had to pull him back for reshoots and the schedule that he couldn't shave his mustache.
Yeah, exactly. But in that time where they built these servers and released the movie, the open source community and like the software you can get at home was actually processing that type of thing better than Warner Brothers was able to do for the Justice League. So yeah, this is rapidly accelerating as a whole.
This sounds like it's not far off from eliminating actors and actresses from movies if we can just computer generate them.
I mean,
we've been saying that for 20 years,
movies?
Though.
Yeah,
that's when CG first came out. When Lucas started doing all the crazy stuff with the prequels for Star Wars. That's what everybody was saying. It's like, and even Jurassic Park. It's like this is going to be the end of actors, and no, it's not. It's just another tool in the toolbox.
Well, it may be the end of some actors, right? If you look at some of the movies like Rogue One, and even like the recent Star Wars movies where they were basically, taking some older characters and then dropping them back in to it. So I think I agree that it's not going to completely remove actors, but I mean, for something like this, where you can actually have like crappy video quality may be in your favor. And if there's jitter, people are used to seeing jitter in video conferences. oh my God, this is absolutely going to be something that we are going to have to deal with in this industry. And I don't aside from what Ryan was talking about, how the hell do you train someone? If you get a video call from your boss, don't trust it. Like, where are we?
No, you're going to need a safe word. You're going to have a safe
You're
word.
gonna need a safe word. What is our safe word? Avocado. Okay. Corporate,
So given
is this the beginning of corporate safe words?
Yes.
User awareness training. So, oh my God.
So given Ralph's description of Ryan's description of kind of how it generated and how you can detect like fake Photoshop pictures and that kind of stuff, is this something that we could maybe, rather than just say like, hey, I know for a fact that this is a fake video, could we do something like entropy and just say, hey, this has it looks like it's computer generated, this doesn't look like it's an actual natural thing?
Here's the problem. Okay, so if you're looking at a lot of different modifications images, right, if it's automatically if you're using steganography, any type of computer generated stuff, you can actually deal with entropy. The problem that you run into is when you get into compression. So whenever you're dealing with a video and you're transferring data over video, or if you're trying to do modifications, like if you're going to check the entropy, what a lot of compression algorithms will do is very, very similar as far as whenever you look at the bits and bytes to what deepfakes do. So like if you're looking at compression, it's like, well, here's some blue. They're not quite the exact same shade, but F it. We're going to all of a sudden make all of these blues be the exact same color, and then it's going to kind of pixelate it a little bit. By that compression algorithm, making a determination as far as what colors it's going to replace, instead of having the full diversity of all the color sets that you can have, collapsing that down to a smaller color palette looks exactly like computers modifying video streams on the fly, because that's literally what they're doing. So being able to say, like, are you losing bandwidth, or is this somebody that's like creating an avatar for your boss like a puppet? That's kind of that's a lot harder to start, writing a computer program to determine the differences of it. And I know that somebody right now is like, wait a minute, I know math, and there's going to be a Usenix paper coming out next year on how to actually detect this. So let's hope that that's what we end up with sooner rather than later.
So if my boss tells me that I need to work a couple extra hours, I can say deepfake and say no and run away.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's going to be the buyout now for everything. Oh, no. I was going to do it, but you're a deepfake. Yeah.
I'm not going to follow this.
It's a deepfake.
Fake work. So, oh my God.
I found the link to the video. It's Travis Goodspeed, and the USB stick that did it was FaceDancer for the anti-forensics.
Oh, that was the one that you were talking about,
right? Yeah.
Oh, so naturally it's Travis. Where is he at these days? Because I know he was doing a lot of research, and then he was doing freelance work, and then he would basically just like travel, and then he'd come back. I haven't seen him in a while. So
I don't know, but it's an excellent talk. You should definitely check it out.
Anything from Travis Goodspeed is really, really, really good. He's in that Dan Kaminsky type category for me, especially with the hardware hacking stuff. What other news stories do we have, Ryan?
Any special requests, or just pick one?
I got one.
Yeah.
How about Experian credit freeze? Anyone got that?
We got
that one actually came up. And Dale wanted to talk about so Dale gets to retell his story.
Oh, I missed it. So I get to relive it, or I get to relive it.
It's cool. Go ahead, Dale.
Well, it wasn't so much with Experian, but just more the fact that with your personal information, how easily your stuff can be stolen. Like up here in Canada, we have these COVID relief payments you can get from the government if you've been unemployed, and someone managed to get into my account using just over the phone and change the bank account information and the mailing address on my account and have these payments sent to them. I've been dealing with it for about 6 months now, trying to get it cleaned up and off my account, but I know it's not directly related to Experian, but in the same sense, the Experian one, and their account was able to be unthawed by having just sending in the request, and it didn't even have to come from the email on the account. In the article, it actually says from any email address, which is crazy. And no multi-factor on these free accounts. If you want to enable multi-factor, you've got to step up to a paid account, which to me seems like they might want to revisit that.
For everyone who doesn't know, you can freeze your credit, okay? And when you do this, you're essentially just preventing other people from taking out any credit, even yourself, okay? So if you were to go in to get a loan and you try to apply, if the credit freeze is on, it'll just stop it, right? Well, the issue at hand here is that you can unfreeze it without any validation, right? And the validation was just the email address. So just to kind of bring everyone up to speed, and Experian's not really known for great security. In the past, they kind of like leaking this stuff out. But yeah, and I guess Krebs has actually had this happen to him before too, through TransUnion, I believe, as well, where, people who are persistent enough and have this information. Now, just for context, when you do unfreeze the credit, it's not just, hey, what's your email address? We'll send you a link and now you can unfreeze your credit. You do have to enter some information, but they already have this information. That's how they stole your identity, right? That's the whole point, of this freeze. So
like the article says, one of the examples was the last four of your social. Like if I am trying to take credit out under someone's name, like I know their social security number at that point.
It doesn't even have to be an email address on file. It says any email address. And to make things worse, it doesn't even send any email notification when the PIN's been reset. So even if someone does reset it, or someone does reset the account, you don't get a notification that your PIN's been reset.
But thank God capitalism, you can pay Experian for a special version that includes two-factor and definitely lets you know. So
I knew there was going to be a solution to this problem. I knew they were going to have a solution to this. It just involved giving them more money, right? But this gets into this weird place, right, where you have somebody like...
So you're paying them to actually be secure.
Yeah. But this gets into that weird place, right, where you have like these groups like Equifax and Experian who have a tremendous amount of data, a tremendous amount of power, and like you as an individual have like no control over it, like at all. I mean, it's just, I don't know like what the answer to something like this is, right? Because Experian's stock hasn't been hit with this at all. It's not really a problem to them. Because Experian now knows what the bar is. They're like, well, how bad of a security issue is this? Because it's not like all of our data was hacked and, taken, because that's bad and that we're just fine. So what's
anything below a critical is not worth fixing.
Yeah, so what, right? So, you know what? The new CISO is like, you know what we need around here? More interns to blame. If we have that, we're good to go. But like, what the hell is the solution to this? And I've talked in the past, a lot of paycheck processors, you can basically call and say that you're from a company and you can be like, I need to add a new employee. And they're like, okay, what's their salary? It's $250,000 a year. And here's their banking information. Thank you very much. And the organization wouldn't pick up on it for quite a while. So this is just that weird place where there's very little authentication. I think we spend so much time on patching and standard traditional hacks that we kind of miss the plot on some of these other things like deepfakes and this Experian credit unfreeze. Also, it's novel for me because what the hell? Like the attackers, there's plenty of people to go after. Like, what was it? Did this person like make them mad to the point where they're like, no, we're not done with you yet. We're going to unfreeze your credit and continue screwing you over because there's better things we can do, but we're not going to do those.
Sounds a little personal almost, right? Like, you froze it, we're coming after you.
Yeah, no. I mean, why would you do that?
The pen tester version of this is when you have like a domain admin account and another domain admin account, and they lock the one domain admin account, and then you just unlock it so that you can keep using it.
Oh my God. So, or I can't remember if it was a test you were on, Rob, where it was something like that happened, and they're like, we caught your account and locked it out. And you're like, well, I have 20 others over here. Do you want me to, you want to, are these ones that you want to lock out too? No, I can do it. I don't want to overburden your help desk team.
I was on an engagement once and we were doing that. We compromised a couple of machines. We had a bunch of accounts. Like we had like hard levels of access, and it was at the very end. And we started compromising machines, and they were detecting it. We're like, all right, great. Let's do some more of that and see if
detection
let them
works, right?
Yeah. Let them catch this. I mean, this is the end of the engagement, and so we kept popping machines. It was like over and over again, and eventually it was like 2 hours later, the CISO called us like, "Hey guys, stop. We can't do this anymore. The team is just we DDoSed them pretty much. Like they couldn't keep up with all the machines we had compromised, and they were like having to like run down like grab Sally's laptop and like doing
just pull
doing
the plug
recon
at
on
that
it. So
point.
yeah,
just stop all internet
over at that.
Yeah.
So I was on a test where I was asked by the CISO to add a new domain admin account so that they could see what their, incident response would do. And so I added a new domain admin account, and like 20, 30 minutes later, it gets deleted. Silence. No one hears anything. The CISO doesn't get a report on it. Like no one. The next day, we go back in and we report to the CISO, like, did you hear anything? He's like, nope, radio silence. So I add a domain admin account again because he asked, and he's like, all right, I want you to add 4 domain admins accounts. See if they say anything. And it's like, okay, sure, no problem. I add 4. 20, 30 minutes later, all of them get deleted. Nothing. And he's like, okay, we're going to up the ante on this one because he was on the phone with us when we did it.
20 accounts.
Add my account to be a domain admin.
Nice.
No.
See if they delete it. And he's like, I was like, you sure about that? That's your like computer, like that's your everything account, right? He's like, do it. See if they delete it. So we're actually watching this guy's screen because we have admin access on his box. So we found out who was doing it, and we got admin on his box, and we had like screen sharing turned on for his thing. So we're watching him, and he hovers over the delete button like for 5 minutes. It's just right and pulled down, and it's over the delete button, and he's just sitting there. And we're on the call just hysterically bawling our eyes out because he's just sitting there not doing anything.
Come on, click it.
The guy's got one foot out the door, ready to if I click this, I'm out of here.
Yeah, he's about done. He's burnt out at that point. Change management. I've had it with these guys.
That's what it sounds like.
He doesn't do it. But he messages, like it's a sysadmin, and he messages the CISO of the company. He's like, did you add yourself as a domain admin? And the CISO's like, no. He's like, okay, and then doesn't do anything about it. Like, doesn't report it, doesn't send it anywhere. Just leaves it in there as a domain admin. And we were just dying laughing.
Was his like, SOP just straight whack-a-mole? Like that's how he dealt with this is how he dealt with stuff.
Yeah, we had a very long conversation with him afterwards.
Yeah, it's like what? So 1, you were catching it. 2, you were deleting it. So kind of kudos on that. But 3 is really important. Why? Like there should be some notification. We appreciate the initiative, and we need to refocus that in an appropriate direction.
That's his whole security. His whole security posture is just finding viruses and deleting them and hoping no one finds out.
We have all seen that. Like I think back in the early 2000s, where AV was first getting started and coming up, you would hear. I mean, even when I was working at Accenture, we had a systems administrator that literally, as soon as an alert would pop up, he would go to the system remotely and delete the file, and we had no idea why the hell he was doing that, even though it was automatically deleting it most of the time. And we're like, how are you going to? Oh, it just seems like it's the right thing to do. And it's like, we have 5,000 users. That's not something that's scalable at all. Or crap, we had a sysadmin once at Northrop Grumman in the standard operating procedures, right? I think it was like the DSKID 6.3. There was a requirement in there that said that you had to review the audit logs every single day, and was in his office talking with him, and he had up on his screen the security event logs on a Windows server, and he was just scrolling through them while we were talking. And I was like, what are you doing? Well, the DSKID 6.3 says that I've got to review the event logs every single day. I'm like, what the hell? Like, manually, he was just scrolling through them. I'm like, what are you looking for? I don't know.
If something red and blinking is sticking out, then I'll look at that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite war story, though, this is just slightly related to that in this expression about someone's face. We put ransomware, a fake ransomware on the device, and it popped a message, and we turned their camera on, right? So we're watching them as they get the ransomware notice, and they're like, they're on the IT team, and it was just like, that's it,
Time for
man.
lunch.
I'm done.
Walk away, man. Just walk away.
Yeah, he didn't do anything. I swear to God, he walked away, and we were just dying. And we had their CISO was watching, or like we showed them the video, and it was, oh my God.
See, now way back in the day, this is like old hacker story time.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep driving the hole.
When Back Orifice 2000 first came out, one of John's monologue, grab your popcorn.
Yep, grab it.
when Back Orifice 2000 came out, right, it was just like this amazing backdoor, and there were websites that literally were basically videos and screen captures of people whenever you would pop up a message on their screen and then like get their facial reactions. And it was just like tons of pictures. Now, all that crap is illegal as hell, and it was not cool. It was not illegal. But seeing some of the reactions of people whenever they saw that pop-up box that said that they were compromised, and it said something like, I can see your poodle in the background, so then they know for sure that they were hacked. I mean, their faces were just like that Numa guy, like, so popcorn away.
What other stories do we have today?
We've got Python, we've got submarines, Linux, Microsoft, SAP.
Oh, let's talk about the Linux. Let's talk about the Linux ARM 32-bit memory leak vulnerability. So this is a pretty cool one. Whenever we talk about like the vulnerability that we were discussing a little bit earlier with EXIF, whenever you're looking at things like pwn to own, and I really wanted to talk about this in the context of like the news, you'll hear about attackers that end up chaining multiple vulnerabilities together in order to gain access to a computer system. So you'll see vulnerabilities that come out that honestly don't seem all that interesting. Like this particular vulnerability allows you to utilize proc and then a process ID and syscall to dump 24 bits of random memory out of a system, which honestly, once again, doesn't sound that interesting at the end of the day, but it actually is. And the reason why this is really interesting is if I have the ability through some type of local exploit to dump memory contents, right, opens up the possibility of me doing two different types of attacks. One of them is bypassing things like address space layout randomization. Whenever your operating system starts with ASLR and KALSR, it randomizes where in memory different applications are. And if you can take a vulnerability like this one and you can start mapping where these different things exist, then you can utilize another exploit that requires a return pointer to land in the proper place. Because address space layout randomization was designed to make exploits more difficult, because trying to jump to a memory location, if you jump to one that's not where you're destined to go, and then you get a segmentation fault. So if you can actually map a little bit of the memory, it opens up the ability for you to jump to the appropriate location and execute properly. The other thing is if you're dumping memory, you might have the ability to actually identify whatever canary protection tokens are in place before the return pointer. So a number of operating systems will use canaries in a variety of different ways. You have null canaries, randomized canaries, XOR canaries, terminator canaries. But whenever the operating system starts, it creates a canary that it puts in front of the return pointer. And if that canary is modified, then it knows that there's some smashing of the stack happening. Well, if you can read memory out of the system and you can read the canary, then you can basically on the fly format your exploit. So you're overwriting the return pointer and the proper canary as well. So I really liked this particular vulnerability because it talks about how you can dump memory, and by reading memory, it can be used for additional exploits down the line. So when you're looking at a lot of the like pwn to own competitions, you will see attackers chaining sometimes 6 different vulnerabilities, from dumping memory through things like format string vulnerabilities, where you can do %x, 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 and a printf or SN printf function to dump randomized chunks of memory, and ones like this where you can actually read arbitrary memory as well. So I really like this because, if you're watching the news and you hear about an exploit, a lot of times it's not just an exploit, but it's a whole bunch of exploits chained together to actually allow that remote code execution to fire.
Yeah, I remember back in 2013, Stephen Fewer's submission to pwn to own. I actually got him to talk to him to walk down each one of them. Super lucky to be able to do so, but there were 13 exploits just to get into, I think it was Chrome on Windows at the time. Like just amazing work. And he said it took at least 6 months just to formulate the plan for it. And then even then, I think another 6 to 9 months to get all of those exploits put together. Like that is, and that's not just like,
that's
right.
dedication.
That's not, after hours for an hour a day. That's like hours a day for 6 months kind of deal.
Whenever you look at those vulnerabilities, this gets back into patching the lower risk vulnerabilities in organizations where they say we only patch highs and criticals.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those lows and maybe mediums that you may be ignoring, like memory corruption or DOS conditions, if you choose to ignore those, you choose to ignore those at your own peril because they may be utilized in another exploit chain. So just keep in mind on that.
Yeah, it's a reason they're the mediums and other things like that too. I mean, they get chained even on these internals and stuff like that. You're taking one little piece and then putting one little piece together, and all of that, can turn to be the entire attack chain, right? And that's not even talking about what you guys are talking about, which is these like 0 days that the Pwnda own, right? Where they're taking all of these 0 days, but some of those weren't amazing 0 days. I mean, they're 0 days, but they weren't like the one thing that they could do. Most people would be like, oh, that's like kind of okay. Like you don't really get anything in there. But when you chain them all together,
John, if I have 2 mediums on my machine, does that equal a high, or is it like is that 1 + 1? Like, is it automatically a critical if I have 3 lows?
Is this like Go Fish exploitation?
Well, you know that people ask that, so know it. Like when I have a vulnerability disclosure program, because of how you guys said it, like they're going to ask that question.
Yeah, they're going to go that way. So usually, whenever I answer that question, generally for most vendors, a critical vulnerability is a vulnerability that exists remote code execution and is actively being exploited automatically in the wild. A high vulnerability is a vulnerability that exists and exploit code exists, but it's not being actively exploited in the wild. Medium vulnerabilities are vulnerabilities that exist when in the presence of another misconfiguration or vulnerability can be exploited. So a classic vulnerability that a lot of people kind of ignore is like anonymous FTP, or you can do FTP write to certain directories. In and of itself, it won't allow you to gain access. But if I can do anonymous FTP to log directory, I can scrape out user IDs and passwords, right? If I can write to a directory and then that directory is readable by a web server, I can write a web shell and then I can exploit it. And I think the kernel ownage, if you want to get really old school, go back to some of the original stuff that Chris Gates was doing years ago that shows how you can chain those vulnerabilities together. The thing that sucks about what I just said is everything I just said, if you're talking to an executive, it came across as like blah, 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 because they want to play the game of do we fix it if there's 4 or do we fix it if there's 16 lows? Like it's not super simple, right?
It's only a high if you exploited it.
Yeah, it's only a high if you exploited it.
That's why they
right?
call it not vulnerability management, but vulnerability analysis. If you do vulnerability management, management, then all you're doing is managing the number of criticals, highs, mediums, lows. If you do vulnerability analysis, when you actually have people looking at it, instead of just issuing reports out to whoever the app owners are, right? Then you are actually doing it right. Like that's the difference.
And it sucks so bad because I think that all of us have been on engagements where you find a vulnerability that's a medium or a low, and then you exploit it. And when you go to management, you're like, hey, this right here was a low, but we were able to exploit it. And they're like, well, we're not going to patch it. Why? Because it's a low. And our policy is we don't fix lows. I'm like, but I was able to exploit it and gain access to your environment. Yeah, we know, but it's low, so we don't fix it. It's like, what the literal hell? That happens. So
we have an update to this report. It is now a high.
Yeah, it is now a high. Here, can I get access to your Nessus scanner? Okay. Do that on the reports, but then they argue with you. We actually had a customer. We went into their Nessus scanner because we were using their scanner, and then basically went into that specific plugin ID, changed it from a low to a high, reran the scan, gave it to them, then they fixed it.
So what you're saying is I need to change all of the findings to highs.
You got to hack the security tool to get them to fix it. All of them to high. Every one of them. watch, things are going to get fixed, right?
That's how things work, right? So, I mean, so the other problem with vulnerability management
only
is that
has highs in it.
like you expect that the vulnerability management teams, like the companies that do the research and do put in the checks and all that kind of stuff, have a good sense of what level it's at, right? And what the vulnerability exists, and they can only do so much. They don't know what your network looks like, but sometimes I have to question some of these companies because, like, if there's a PHP plugin that has an exploit that only works if you have 17 things trained together to, and differences in this configuration and that configuration, and it's a critical because it's RCE, that's when I get on my soapbox and start yelling at the sky, is because, like, you're having companies patch a PHP vulnerability that is 100% not vulnerable in their network because they don't have this crazy configuration, and the app owners are getting pissed off because they're like, this doesn't affect me, and the vulnerability management team's like, it scans, it shows up as vulnerable because you have PHP version 1.2.3 and the app owners are like, it's not vulnerable and we don't run that, and and back and forth, and just getting that animosity between the two, right? So how do we get the industry to
you just change the findings to
stop having idiotic vulnerabilities that don't apply to 90% of everyone who runs the tool or software?
I think that's why so many vulnerability management tools are trying so hard to come up with automated vulnerability prioritization, even though I think it's garbage, right? At the end of the day, that your precious snowflake organization has got to come up with its own management approach, right? But we want these magical tools. We want Tenable, we want Rapid7. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do, right? And they don't understand that it's complicated and it's hard. And they're just like, well, it would be a lot easier if it just went through and fixed everything for us. And we're not going to have that anytime soon at all. So I guess, Rob, what I'm going to say is I think we should all be happy because that's job security.
No, right? I would love not to have a job. I'd love to find another job.
Oh my God, right? Okay, before we close off, what would be your job? What would you
cybersecurity
do if you weren't doing if cybersecurity was solved? And all the marketing of Cylance and CrowdStrike and Palo Alto was true tomorrow,
that's easy.
Right? If all of a sudden they did everything that they were going to do, what would you do? So Rob,
I would absolutely be a state park ranger in an instant.
Oh my God, that's such a good one. Whenever I'm hiking through like the backcountry and you see that park ranger that's like walking around, they're like, what do you do? He's like, I just walk around here, help people out, and set up my hammock and sleep under the stars. Like, you're my hero. Dude, that's
best job ever.
Yeah, it's so good. Best job ever. Dale, you?
I'd be a limousine driver.
I can see that.
You limousine driver. I like that. Wouldn't be boring at all.
One of those big, huge, long ones.
Oh, God, that'd be cool. All right, Noah.
Oh, it would totally be like private jet pilot. That would totally be it.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of similar to Dale's, setting your sights a little bit higher. All right, so Ralph, crypto mining.
Do you really have to ask?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind just fishing every day. I'm not very good at it, but it's very relaxing.
There you go. Jeff.
Beta test Minesweeper upgrades.
There you go.
Beta test Minesweeper upgrades. Wow.
All right, Ryan. I know it's a little bit easier for you, but if you had to do something else and money wasn't an issue, what would it be?
Oh, geez. It's something with automotives for sure.
Okay.
I'd go racing.
There you go. Racing.
I follow Chris Brenton. Have him giving me lessons.
Oh my God. There you go. That would be a good gig. I would become a heavy machinery operator, like backhoes and skid steers and things like that. I absolutely love that. So that's
for the most
part,
we would just all drive different things. Sounds like.
Yeah. I think that's a consistent theme, right? We like being somewhat in control of like what happens here. So it's kind of crazy.
In control of very chaotic environments.
That is funny. We all picked a different thing to try.
Yep. All right, everybody, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. And for those of you that watch live, we greatly appreciate it. And we will see you, I think, this Wednesday. Take care, everybody.